Like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. Follow us on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, heck, we're even on TikTok. We're excited to engage with you. We hope you'll join us moving forward.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to our new segment called Digging Deeper, and it's in collaboration and sponsored by Red Cloud. We're here today. What a guest to start off this entire new journey with Consolidated Uranium. We have the president, CEO, and chairman, Philip Williams. How are you doing? Let's get into it. Let's make the case for uranium right off the bat before we start talking about your company specifically. Tell us what your take on the macro of uranium is right now.
Yeah, for sure. And good morning, Andrew. And thanks very much for having me on. Very excited to be the first guest on the new segment. Uranium is a space that I've been around for a long time, and it's had its bulls and it's had its bears. But I think we're really set up today for another very, very strong bull market. It's already started, and it's really a function of a few different things that have come together all at the same time. And you always look at commodities and you look at the fundamentals, the supply and the demand side. And demand is growing, and I think we've seen some very interesting things over the past couple of weeks, particularly coming out of the COP26 conference, with a lot of different countries standing up and saying, look, we're very much pro-nuclear. It's going to be a big part of our go-forward energy mix. And so that's been very positive, and we'll see the implications of that over the coming years. And then on the demand side, we've also seen some very significant events. And I'm going back now maybe 2 years where the bigger players in the industry decided to turn off some supply because of low prices. And so we're seeing the impacts of that. Prices have started to move up. But I think where things get really interesting is that the lag between prices moving up and new supply coming on is really going to continue to squeeze the market. And then there's another overlay, which is pretty interesting, is these financial players are starting to come into the uranium spot market. And that's just torquing it even more than it ordinarily might go. And whether it's the Sprott physical fund or whether it's Yellow Cake, they've been buying up as much physical material as they can. And that's I think that really has the potential to continue to supercharge the industry.
And uranium is in nuclear, it's contentious, it's political. But the one thing that we can say absolutely factual is that it's the cleanest and the best approach we have to meeting any of these goals at COP. And when I say it's the cleanest and safest, by far, bar none. And that's something that isn't, unless you're in the space, you'd know that. But someone who's a generalist would think, oh, well, all I can think about is Chernobyl or Fukushima, which are two offs in the entire history of uranium. But that can leave a mark. But that's certainly not the case that we have as far as actual data on nuclear and on uranium.
Well, 100%, Andrew. And I think that 10 years post Fukushima, I think generally people are warming to it far more than we would have even expected. And yes, there's always going to be contentious issues and people worried about having reactors in their backyard. But we've got a crisis in front of us of climate change. And I think, the way that I look at it is we have to throw every tool in the toolbox at it, and nuclear is going to play a big role. And more people are coming around to it. And so it's a very exciting time for the space.
Yeah, and you mentioned like Macron in France, they turned off their reactors to some degree a couple of years back, for whatever reasons. But after COP and during COP, he's saying, no, you know what, we're going on board again with nuclear. At the same time, China comes out and says we're greenlighting about 140 nuclear reactors for the year ahead. So that if people want to get a sense as to the acceptance, that's a pretty good indicator. Never mind the fact that, and we've got a question from Elliot, and I was just about to touch on it, talking about the latest infrastructure program and the Biden administration regarding effects. I'll let you deal with that one because that ties in nicely together. Their strategic fund or trust that they're putting together.
No, for sure. But I just touch on what you said around France and China, and you have the existing nuclear countries. And France is the poster child for nuclear. 75% of their electricity comes from nuclear. And for a while there, you're right, they were sort of waffling about, are we going to continue to support nuclear? Are we going to reduce our capacity? In fact, they've gone the other way. They're doing more. And so that's a huge endorsement. And they're really a role model for the sort of first world. And as you said, China is got massive plans to ramp up their nuclear capacity. That's going to be a huge driver. So I think what you're seeing is the existing fleets are going to stay strong, and then the new build is coming on. And then the U.S. I think is particularly a jurisdiction that we're very interested in. And I think we can go into a lot of different elements of that, particularly when we come back to our story. But yes, Biden and his administration, they want to go net zero by 2035, I think it is. And they've acknowledged that nuclear's got a big role to play. They are the country with the biggest nuclear reactor fleet. So it's a very important part of their energy mix to keep nuclear going and maybe even expand it over time.
So let's just jump into you guys then. So I think we've made a case, I mean, quickly enough about the macro, but Consolidated Uranium, it's the name Consolidated because you've got a wide portfolio. You're a newer company on the exchange, which I mean has an exceptional chart, which is always nice as well. With a ton of milestones. So that's part of the issue we have today is you're done so much in a short period of time with so much coming forward. Let's just dive right into why Consolidated. What's your case for moving forward, and why are people responding so well so far?
Yeah, look, and I have to say that we've been very fortunate to have gotten into the space early. Even though, as you say, we're a new company, we started about a year and a half ago now. And we really came up with this strategy of consolidating the uranium space. And what we had seen was over the sort of 10 years post Fukushima, there were hundreds of companies in the uranium space. That number dwindled into the tens of companies. And there were many projects that had seen lots of historic work done on them, historic resources in place, but those projects had fallen to the wayside. No one was working on them. They were in the backs of other portfolios. And we saw an opportunity to go collect those assets, bring them into our company, and really build a significant resource base by doing so. We also took a very a proactive approach to diversifying the portfolio, and we really and at some point I think you're going to throw up a map of our project, but we really looked at, hey, how do we build the right portfolio? And it's about diversifying across geographies. And so we're now sitting in Canada, we're sitting in the US, we're sitting in Australia and Argentina. And we think that those are some of the top jurisdictions for both developing mines in general, but uranium in particular.
Let me ask you a quick question, because it was important. You'd mentioned it to me yesterday. Was why do you have the portfolio? Because someone might look and go, shouldn't you just focus in on one area, focus in on a region? Say, like, we know Kazakhstan is a major player. We know Athabasca Basin, where Cameco is, major area. Why not just blast and just focus one area and put all your attention on one?
Yeah, look, I think it's what you said earlier. And if nuclear power is contentious in its own right, uranium mining is even more contentious. And this whole NIMBY issue, we don't want a uranium mine in our backyard. We've seen it time and time again, where a company with a single project in a single jurisdiction becomes derailed overnight for events beyond their control. Typically, it's a state or a province or a country going from potentially pro-uranium to against uranium overnight. And you really can't control that. And so what we wanted to make sure that we were doing, we're not only picking up great projects that we think that we can develop on their own right, but if one of our projects gets derailed for some reason, we have other projects that we can fall back on. We will ultimately focus on our most advanced and closest to production projects. And we were already starting to look at ways that we can realize value from those other projects. But certainly creating a diversified portfolio, I think, gives the company and our investors a bit of insurance, a bit of protection from any single asset being derailed.
Yeah, and once again, if you see like on the chart there of all of the places that you're at, major continents, two close major markets, whether it's in China, you've got South America, you're in areas where you can get product to end users very quickly, depending on that political spectrum. But that being said, it looks like moving forward, and it's very interesting, is with the Biden administration, Democrats haven't generally been very open to uranium, but that is not the case, or certainly seems to be very pro and serious about this new shift in energy, and that bodes well for these projects that are highlighted and the strengths in the U.S.
Correct, and when we entered the U.S., which was just recently through a transformational acquisition with Energy Fuels, the biggest publicly traded U.S. uranium company, we specifically looked at going into very good uranium states, and that's Utah and Colorado. And so you've got a history of uranium mining, history of production in those states. So we didn't want to start in that jurisdiction in one of the higher risk areas. We wanted to go where mining's happened before and can definitely happen again. And the projects that we picked and we did a deal on are all past producing mines in Utah that were producing in that last bull market. And we're very confident that they can come on very quickly for low capex as the price continues to move forward here.
And I knew you alluded to it. I mean, they're a strategic partner in this because they sold you the assets, but also they've come on the board as well.
Yeah, correct. And in the time that we have, I could spend the whole time going through our team and how capable they are and our track record. And there's lots that we could go. But the only thing I would highlight, and maybe if you threw the slide up, you could see it. But as part of this transaction, they're selling us these assets, but they're not walking away. On top of being a 19.9% shareholder in the company, which I think is a very strong endorsement, the CEO of Energy Fuels, Mark Chalmers, has just joined the board. He's the newest guy on the team. Mark is a tremendous person, personally, but also a veteran of the industry, been there for 40 years. He brings so much experience and knowledge to the company. And he said, from the outset, he said, we want to stay involved. We think these are tremendous assets. They produce a lot of uranium in the past. They're going to produce a lot of uranium in the future. I want to be there to help shepherd this company forward. So we couldn't be more excited to have Mark on the board.
Yeah, and I can speak to the management. I like to talk about it a lot, and I write about management. Listen, we could talk about it for ages. It's loaded, great management, and having that endorsement, but also not only as an investment, but with the crew over there that sold you the property, they want to see these developed. And they want it, and that's why they have these relationships. So it speaks well to the resources coming on board, the amount of work that comes along with that. And on top of that, just so people know, because we're time constrained, is we can send you out the Red Cloud analysis of what they think the stock's going to and whatnot. Happy to do it. Reach out to me. We can send that free over to you as well. They've done an excellent job on detailing all of this as well. But let's look at also what are some of the key kind of strategic things that we should be looking for in the short term, like say 3 to 6 months, and then longer term for someone who's looking to go, wow, you guys have risen like a rocket ship. Where's the opportunity? Where can I still get in? Am I on time? Am I too late? Where am I? Well,
I mean, you're not too late. I mean, first of all, we think we're in the very early innings of this bull market, and if this bull market's anything like the last bull market, valuations are going to go exponential from here. So I think there's lots of upside, particularly in our stock, of course. But I think what's going to happen for our company, and when we put these asset package together, started to put them together a year and a half ago, as I said, our strategy was to consolidate these assets and not really do anything on them. We wanted to wait to see the market start to move and then start to reward actual work on the project level side. That's happened. So I think what you're going to see from us, and I hope I'm hopeful that before the end of the year, we're going to come out with a lot more information on this as it relates to what are the project level activities that we're going to do. Our focus is going to be, of course, on advancing the projects in the U.S. Again, we think they can come back into production very quickly, and so we're going to spend a lot of time and energy and capital advancing those assets. But even on our other assets, there's things that we can do. There's low-hanging fruit where we can add value, whether it's expanding the resources, whether it's doing some economic analysis or doing work on metallurgy, et cetera. We're going to start doing that. But I think where we're going to take this company to the next level is through continued M&A activity. And so just the other day, we announced a new project acquisition. That will, although be it small on a sort of financial metric, it's important strategically for some of the other projects that we have in that area. That's Queensland, Australia. And so there's more things that we have in the pipeline, ideas that we have like that. But also, I think we're going to see a lot more big M&A in the space. We've already seen a couple of transactions happen where companies are coming together. I think that that's going to continue. And I feel like Consolidated is very, very well positioned to be front and center in that and continue to consolidate the space as per our name.
Excellent. And I can attest to this. If we can pull up the Kamiko chart of uranium price, this kind of gives people a sense of in a chart form of where the price goes, and when it goes parabolic. And it certainly seems like we're setting ourselves up to be in that kind of situation. If we look at this chart here quickly, it'll just pop up here. If we look at the 5-year or 10-year. Sorry, bear with me. The other thing I'll mention is that if you see that chart there, that's just uranium as a price. The stocks are almost like a derivative of that. They go dramatically higher. So, and I'm not promising anything, but I'm just saying that in the past, when this spiked, it spiked fast and hard. And we're certainly seeing this kind of environment to be hinting at that this could happen again.
No, for sure. And equity valuations can get very, very much higher from here. And I mean, I think one of the examples of that, and we have it in our presentation, is Mega Uranium. They were one of the original consolidators in the space. And over a 2-year period from the beginning of 2005 to the end of 2006, just in front of where uranium prices were making the high that you see in that chart there, their market cap went from $15 million to $940 million. They did 9 acquisitions over that period. Of course, uranium price was on the move. That's our blueprint. That's what we're, and that's exactly the kind of trajectory we'd like to emulate.
And so, everyone, send me a quick email at Andrew at Supercharged Stocks or Andrew at the Market Mindset. I'll get you that slide, which is a great slide. That it's a 1-slide breakdown of a kind of case study, and it's very useful to have. So make sure you reach out to me for that. Also, I want to touch on one last thing because it speaks to the time frame, and it's a question from Jess, and he's asking how long before we start to see some revenue. So you guys have just started your new company, but when's the revenue coming?
That's a great question. Look, I firmly believe it'll be next year. And again, as I was talking about a little while ago, we're going to come out with some plans very soon for the market in terms of how we're going to advance those U.S. projects. Those U.S. projects, as I said, we're past producing. They're fully permitted to go back into production, and it's a matter of months to go and execute on that plan. And we're putting all those plans in place. We're capitalized. So on Monday, we're going to close on a financing that, thanks to that Red Cloud led for us, we're going to close on $20 million on Monday. We'll be capitalized with over $35 million in working capital post the completion of that financing. And that gives us all the money to go and push those projects ahead very quickly. I firmly believe that we'll be producing uranium next year.
Beautiful. And I believe, you guys are a junior and you've raised what, 46 million in 18 months?
Yeah,
that's pretty close to a record, I think. That's pretty amazing.
It's been a fun ride, and I would point out that in each placement has been at a higher price and a higher amount all the way along. We've done 6 placements since I took over the company in March of last year.
And you can see that well on the chart. It's exactly what one wants to see when they're seeing like a mining company being funded properly. Very much a chart, and I'll liken it to like a Great Bear that I worked with before. Same type idea, higher highs, and that's what you want to see. I want to thank you so much. We ran a little bit long, but because this is such an exciting opportunity, exciting story in a space that people need to know more about if they're really serious about getting clean and green, and they recognize this shift in energy. This is a company you should take a peek at. Make sure you send me an email. We'll get you that report from Red Cloud. I can put you in touch with Jeff Wilson or Roger Blair at Red Cloud. And of course, any more questions, send them on in. I'll make sure they get to Philip. We really thank you so much for being on here. This is an exciting opportunity. We're going to keep our eye on it for sure. And once again, thanks so much.
Yeah, thanks, Andrew. It's great talking to you.
Today's company presentations are brought to you by Red Cloud Financial Services and the team at Red Cloud Vancouver. Red Cloud Financial Services is your preeminent source for mining industry opportunities. The team provides a unique tailored marketing program dedicated to reaching the right people from its mining-focused global network, giving clients access to industry-leading events and conferences, retail and institutional marketing, plus an in-house growth-driven digital agency. Red Cloud Financial Services has access to some of the mining industry's most notable companies and CEOs. Tune in every Thursday at 4:15 p.m. Eastern, 1:15 p.m. Pacific for weekly corporate presentations. For more information, visit redcloudfs.com.